Welcome back, guys, to Trails into Reverie, where last episode, after fighting our way into the Reverie Corridors Second Stratum third floor, we found it to be the midway point of our excursion, as dark versions of the original 4 members of the SSS appeared to fight us, defeating them to obtain a trial key. We then started the second half of our climb, facing the first floor's guardian, Ganon, before coming across another new element. I think these places were connected. All the monsters here feel so peaceful. What? This is the Dreamland Hills. Pass through special gates to explore the Dreamland Hills. You will find both guardians and rare poms in these areas, as well as golden chests and objects that drop lots of separate when broken. Return to the corridor via an ornament charging station or by exiting through the gate at the depths of the Dreamland Hills. The hills are home to a variety of different environments. Noon, evening, noon, a soothing tundra at night, and I'm excited for the corridor stream next week, where we will do nothing but Reverie Corridor. Yes, you mean next session?
It's also stunning.
I'm mostly baffled.
An easy victory.
I take it you're an enemy, right? Witch Cat, level 113.
Break them! Raging
We didn't even manage to complete the floor.
Come.
I'll take care of it. Let's go.
I'm assuming we'll have to make our way to the elevator again on that floor.
Enemy unit. I see now.
A devilishly adorable cat. To have one's guard down around it is to risk it feasting on one's body with it leaving behind a disfigured husk.
I'm going. There. Oh, what a relief.
What a relief indeed to step into the special Dreamland place to say a bedtime story with this music, right? That's what we're going to end up doing. I'm not even kidding. So there's got to be another floor above the floor we were at before we get to the boss of the second stratum of the Reverie Corridor. That's a pom.
Fortune favors the clever. Break them! Raging hammer! Cut through!
It's my turn.
Can't, you gotta do this.
Enemy unit. Analysis complete.
A small raccoon that's clever and aggressive in equal measure. The sharp weapon it carries is sourced from a poisonous plant. Have I not seen these before?
Of course. Come. Battle complete. Now to reset myself.
Smashing through these poor guys.
I did it.
Emma's reached 115. And there's loads of these to make sure we always have thingy attack as well. So that's a guardian, is it? What's that red thing?
Curious to see what's in that chest myself.
This thing's in here too. Tri-noodles +2 have been obtained. Oh my god, there's mysterious elements inside the mysterious place. What the crap? We can't win.
The threat is real, but we won't lose.
All threats will be eliminated.
Maybe.
Raging hammer!
We'll have to see how formidable this is.
Spirit unification! It's my turn.
Might just arcane gale them when I think about it. Got the witch cats.
Kane, Gale!
I'm going.
My god, it's dying.
To shreds.
Oh, death blow. Wait, it died? You weren't supposed to die.
We've done what we set out to do.
You weren't supposed to die. Mercury has obtained 0.8% damage as EP from Cherub Nail, CP +12 for each offensive outcast. Oops. Hopefully there's another blue ceiling stone. Oh my god, we're going to be seeing daydreams for ages before we continue our next dance. Oh, I didn't mean to kill him. I didn't think he'd die. Oh man. Hopefully that's like not scan miss now. Void Spires. Got different enemies. Dreamland Hills. We didn't get the scan, that's for certain. But I'm guessing Dreamland Hills we can fight these guys again.
It's shining. An easy victory.
These are metallic bombs. Are they resistant to physical? That's what I'd assume. I only got myself to blame. I wanted to break it. A beautiful shining bomb that hides in the shadows of stronger beasts. A defeat is to earn a wealth of experience.
I'm going.
But can I? Ain't that the question right now?
Dark blades. Aim true.
Okay, we can hit them.
Of course.
We did miss with some attacks. Granted, though.
Come. Now.
Got him.
Risha got the hits in.
I'm up.
So it's just me versus you now, is it? True Helix?
Roar.
Yeah, we hit.
Helix strike.
That's the good one.
That's the power of the 8 leaves.
Sonic bombs have been defeated, so that's a fair bit of experience, yes. Rean and Lloyd reached level 4.
I need to keep at it. The cherry on top.
And a couple more levels. So I take it these are teleporters to
Oh, I see a chest.
different sections, maybe?
Ha!
Still a bit more for me to explore through here. But to be honest, I think it's
Ha! Ready.
Oh, that was a skilled swordsmanship. You see what I mean? We hit the back one, didn't hit the front one.
There. Let's get him.
Super skilled swordsmanship.
Break them. Raging hammer.
Come. Now.
Nice to get the sleep on the first one, so it meant we got the critical, so we got the
I'm up.
the super win.
I'm going. Yeah. A chance.
Let's do this upper tier
Too late.
then and start reading our books for the night, because we have to end the session somewhere. We're going to end it in the Dreamland Gardens. Being very confused about how now big the Reverie Corridor is getting instantly.
Ha!
I'm curious to see what's in that chest myself.
Silver chain?
Ha! Ready. Let's get him.
And these are also metallic bombs.
Fierce as fire. Blazing swarm.
Let's just trust Risha to do the damage we need.
Now.
Got him. Let's go.
No, we can't trust Risha.
Cut through. That's the power.
Wow,
of the
we're
8
leveling
leaves.
up now. Oh my god. Rush for those two.
Nice. I did it.
This place is like bonus stage, right?
Oh, I see a chest.
That's exactly what it is. A dark emblem. Prevents death blow, vanish, and more. Right, well, we gotta take the warp to get through to our next juncture by the look of things. But I think here we're gonna read our stories, so many pages of it, with this theme playing. So, welcome to a new land. We're continuing down the Reverie Corridor, but there's just so much to it that we just don't get through it that fast now in the ephemeral plateau. We will be continuing on with the dungeon further to the top next time, next episode, but for now, every 14th episode at the end of every session,
Okay.
we read the chapters of Moonless Morn that we have, and we have tons of chapters of Moonless Morn. So, let's get started, because this is going to be a half-hour read. So, sit back, relax, here we go, camera freeze time. Chapter 9, The Appointed Hour. Over there, see? That's where the avalanche occurred. What a mess. How come they've been happening all over lately? The blizzard was over and the morning sun was shedding light upon the fresh powder of snow along Mount Whitecrown. Observing this as they climbed through one of the mountain's trails were two men wearing puzzled expressions. One tall and thin, the other short and stout. Both were the very picture of traditional Matagai in their straw hats and coats, each wielding a spear and hunting rifle. That there was an avalanche in itself was not surprising. They happened often. Yet being so used to them was also why the locals were keenly aware that something was off about this one in particular. They could fast recognize impurities that threatened the mountain, and right now this event was quite impure. Their steps hastened as they approached the site of the avalanche. Even from a distance, seeing how unnatural it looked only heightened their unease. I heard Chunlan was talking to the chief yesterday, the stout Matagi piped up, but have you seen him around here since then? I know he hunts around here sometimes. Chunlan wasn't known for late night hunts, but none had caught sight of him since the day before. It was another factor of the scene that unsettled them. He learned his ways from the man trained by Kian. I think he'll be alright, reassured the thin Matagi. Though I get why you're worried, boy's had a lot on his mind. If that were to ever come into play mid-hunt. He turned down the chief's offer again. I don't blame him with how things went with his father, but at the same time, our kids surely do have it rough. Though they felt for Chunlan, they also couldn't treat it as though it had nothing to do with them. Their youth were leaving the village one after another, and not just that, they were struggling with the concept of what it meant to be a Matagi. It was this that had put their people in the dwindling position they were in now. Got word there was strange lightning to be seen on the mountain last night. Do you think Chunlan went to get revenge on Raiju? They floated more questions and speculation between one another as they arrived on site, starting with the thin Matagi. There was no natural avalanche, but then who did it? It could have been Raiju. I know it's a beast of thunder, but there's got to be more to this we aren't seeing. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. I'm just worried about Chunlan. They had no idea what unimaginable threat from another land was awakening beneath the snow. Chunlan, Raiju, the name of the boy who buried me, and the name of my prey. Beneath snow and ice, the weakened Oni pondered inwardly the names the two Matagi were speaking of, and the more he pondered, the more power inside him ignited. He could hear the sound of thunder and the echoes of those names he now hated and hungered more, birthing the perfect catalyst to reawakening the rays that fueled his every waking moment. Look, what's that light? Is there something underneath the snow? As these fires continued to burn brighter and brighter within the Oni, his flesh began to quiver with the need to hunt. The terrifying light once more glowed through the patterns inked across his body. Chunlan, Mouse, Raiju, Chunlan, Mouse, Raiju. The Oni awakened as his burning emotions pushed through his sensory threshold. Steam erupted from the snow like a geyser, revealing his body enveloped in a mysterious light and startling the two Matagi. Something's come out of the snow. I've never seen anything like it. Is it a monster? The men, despite all their experience, were struck with a fear that left them falling on their behinds and wailing before the creature that appeared from a bed of steam and ice. The Oni spared the two a glance as their mouths hanged agape. Chunlan, the mouse, and Raiju, where are they? You know Chunlan and Raiju, cried the thin man. He worked to regain control of his senses once they heard the man speak. He then leveled his hunting rifle toward the Oni. Chunlan and Raiju are the perfect prey for me. As for you two, you will do as an appetizer. I don't know what you mean by that, the thin man seethed, but if you plan to harm someone from our village, then you are an impurity of this mountain. Now get! He then fired as his stout companion returned to his feet and aimed his spear, but there was no hope of the bullet reaching the Oni. In an instant, it had been blocked by an earthen wall, vanishing in a spray of harmless sparks. Where'd that rock come from? The thin Matagi cried. This man, he really is a monster. How'd a thing like him manage to get so close to the village? Before the eyes of the Matagi, now once again overwhelmed with terror, the rock wall crackled and crumbled to the ground. It did not appear as though it was the Oni's intention to do this, but it had at least fulfilled its purpose of shielding him from the bullet. It appears I've not fully recovered. A trifling issue, he resolved with a brutal level tone. I have a small feast right here to warm me up before I hunt them down. The Oni did not hesitate to feed his disadvantage into his hunger for violence, stoking the flames of his fighting spirit till it became a full rage for the hapless men. With it, he summoned a spear of stone. What is he? Is this the curse of the mountain? Pull yourself together. If we don't stop him, think of what will happen to the village. The Oni crept closer to them, making the dim red light glowing from him dance before their eyes. Despite its crude make, the spear in his hand seemed vicious enough to end their lives in an instant. All they could think of this man before them was that he must have been a demon from Gehenna. The morning air of Mount Whitecrown would have split the sound of a useless gunshot, and wild shrieks of death were not for the roaring wind. A feeling of impending disaster caressed Chunlan's neck as they kneeled in a cave at the summit to keep out of Raiju's sight. It had nothing to do with the beat he was facing now. Something else now violated the mountain. Something's got the spirits of the mountain in an uproar, he muttered. I feel it too, replied Seu. I felt this presence plenty of times before. The trio found Raiju. They were in no position to implement the plans they conjured along the way. Knowing that the Oni was awake and likely to head toward them added insult to injury. He's already up, cried Dao in surprise. We're running out of time. Chenlan nodded. Yeah, we have to take down Raiju before he arrives. No way am I letting him steal this kill from me. He did not know how long it would take the now freed demon in human skin to pursue them to the summit, meaning every second battling, breathing, even thinking was a second wasted in an unknown countdown. It could take days. It could take hours. We're gonna have to be quick about this. No distractions. Right, there's no time to go back to the cabin and think more on what to do next, Chenlan agreed, reviewing the goods they carried with them from the cabin. They were all limited in their function, but some were indeed brought as countermeasures against the Raiju's incredible power. The question was, would there be enough to stay them from the jaws of defeat? It was time for Chenlan to put his knowledge as Matagi to the test. It was a strategy he had been wondering for years how to apply in his own life. A strategy he had not used for years. A strategy that he left behind the day of his father's death. I think I've got a plan, he started. Have you heard the Makigari tactic? Makigari was a group hunting tactic that was deeply rooted in Matagi tradition. In essence, it involved one or multiple members acting as guides, Seko, to surround it to prevent escape. An aggressive offense would then be utilized to lead it to a specific spot where the sniper, the Bupa, would finish off the cornered beast. It was a tactic generally carried out by those who had long hunted together, as it hinged heavily on both the leadership of whoever headed the hunt and implicit trust between the rest of the team. It was a difficult tactic to pull off even then, and yet it had to work for Chenlan's new companions. I got no idea, replied Dao. Chenlan explained in detail what it was before following up with a personal anecdote. It's the way we hunt. Me and my dad tried it with Raiju a long time ago. We actually had one over it back then, but, well, we're much better equipped and we're up one person. I think we can make it work. The reality was more that not a single other tactic came to mind. Chenlan was deeply concerned about their ability to coordinate. Even if he had enough confidence in his own skills to compensate, it would be difficult to sync up with Seu and Dao on a technical level. Could them being raised in completely different cultures change things too drastically for it to work? Sounds good, Chenlan. Let's go with that. Seu was surprisingly quick to voice her agreement to the plan. So we've got the traditional method of Matagi, an artifact, and thunder-proof equipment to work with them. Up till now, Seu had been a thinker, a logical individual. Chenlan fully expected her to reject the idea and propose something of her own. The surprise must have shown on his face as she continued. It's not impossible, we just need to minimize any quirks we have that might impact our cooperation and cover the rest with the equipment. One person's problem to solve is everyone's problem to solve here. This encouragement came with a smile. Another surprise, Chenlan supposed. She believed in this tactic more than he did. She was right, of course, that both sides were in the same awkward position of having to find out how the other one worked in a short time. She was also right that this could be solved by deviating just slightly from the traditional form of the tactic and utilizing the things they had, the equipment and the artifact, to cover their shortcomings. That vagabond told me. Hit the unexpected with the unexpected, she said. Certainly, they were doing just that. All right, Dao piped up cheerfully. If we've got your endorsement, Seu, then I don't see any reason not to back it up. He then chided Chenlan playfully about having more faith in his own plan, but no plan goes well when its proposer lacks proper faith in it. Doubt must have accompanied Chenlan's expression of surprise for him to say it. Dao was more brawn than brain, but he was very perceptive of others' emotions, meaning he knew exactly what to say to help someone who was wavering at the time. That chiding was just what Chenlan needed. You're both right, he said. You're just as caught up in me, so I'm going to put my trust in this plan, and you. No more doubts as to whether this will work. It was time to execute their very own brand of the Makikari tactic. Chapter 10. Makikari. Raiju's habitat was the perfect place for this beast that topped the food chain to call home. It sat at the mountain's highest point like a king would his throne, the black stormy clouds swirling overhead in a natural royal crown. Through thunderous applause did it create its weapon, and its subjects below, its prey, never failed to succumb to it once stricken. There was just one thing the beast did not realize about this place, that its terrain, impregnable on the surface, was also the perfect environment to set a trap. There were two paths to reach the summit. One was at the end of a long spiraling trail that looped around its peak. The other was a straight, steep path surrounded on both sides by high rock walls. The first of the hunters who came to claim Raiju's life appeared from the spiraled road, shouting at the top of his lungs, a call unique to the woodland wanderers. "You sleeping, Mr. Bear?" Dao shouted, "'cause I'm ready to wrestle." Dao leaped from rock to rock, or leapt, his unique hunting call being shouted between taunts and insults. In a bag slung over his back were a number of single-shot rifles from the cabin, ancient even by the Matagi standards that were relics of a fallen kingdom. His cries were used in the past to intimidate meat rabbits and fleet-footed foxes into submission. Raiju was no small prey and showed no hint of fear upon hearing them. This, however, was well within the realms of expectations. Drawing one of the smaller rifles from the bag, he made a blistering show out of firing a nearby rock. Raiju paused for only a moment before roaring in turn, fur bristling from head to toe from his mortal threat. Perhaps he still possessed memories of being hunted by the Matagi as a normal bear. Whatever the reason, the sound of the shot was enough for it to understand its position from hunter to hunted. Where's your tough guy at now, you big furball? Dao continued leaping from rock to rock while dodging Raiju's impulsive lightning strikes. After throwing his spent rifle so that it stood upright in the ground, he pulled a second one and fired without hesitation. This one hit its mark precisely, causing the King of Thunder to howl upon being struck. The bullet was too weak and Dao too far for it to pierce through the beast's thick hide, but this too was expected. Raiju sent out a flash of lightning as an instinctive counter to the pain delivered, but it was strange. Rather than deliver the devastating shock it was meant to, it passed through him harmlessly instead. It really worked, Dao grinned with pleasant surprise. He was touching the upright rifle he discarded after use, allowing the lightning fire to pass through him, and into the ground. He was positively giddy with the discovery. Oh, you're a genius, Seiyu. I never would have thought to use these as lightning rods. So long as he positioned the spent rifles like so, he could creep closer to Raiju and never have to worry about the more elemental properties of its offensive. I've got as many of these as I've got shots. Now time to show what woodland wanderers can really do. Dao belted yet another hunting call, and with every shot fired and rod placed, the weight on his back was lighter, allowing him to move at an ever faster pace. He moved in a circular motion, confusing the bear as he led it successfully toward the other path to the summit sandwiched on both sides with rock walls. Guess no matter how strong it is, it's still got the brains of a beast, he muttered to himself before calling out to his companion. It's headed your way, Seiyu. I'm ready, Dao. Bring it in. While still gathering its electricity for yet another counterattack, Raiju was guided into the straight and narrow path. It was met with a sudden barrier of mist that bathed the beast in its own sparks. Got it, Dao shouted. The barrier Raiju stumbled into was not a physical one, but rather a cage of energy strung between countless arrows stabbed into both sides of the rock wall. Moisture from the air glistened off the arrows' exposed tips. I've never done this many at once, Seiyu began, but that doesn't mean I can't do it. The barrier formed from the fusion of Seiyu's energy with the cylinder of the Frozen Sky's power was in essence one of pure fog. The more Raiju tried to force its way through this barrier, the wetter it became, causing its natural electricity to short out. Any attempt to step into it caused a wealth of pain. The way out is just as bad, Seiyu affirmed, shooting additional arrows behind it and filling them with more power, expanding the cage that much farther. Now, even if it were to turn around to run out of the corridor, it can no longer do so without sustaining considerable damage from its own thunder. Yahoo! That's got it pinned down. Think the rest of the plan's gonna go this smooth? This won't stop it for long, Seiyu responded, but it should hold it long enough for Chunlan to give us the signal. Raiju could not escape without passing through the cage of fog, but despite having been transformed through possession of an ancient artifact, it was still a wild beast at heart. It had no concept of surrender, only survival, and would persist even if its only route to tomorrow would do it harm. Roaring wildly, the beast threw itself into the cage wall, blooming a constant fountain of sparks from its massive body. Hey Dios, crazy thing's gonna cook itself alive! I haven't seen Chunlan's signal, Seiyu reported. I don't know if I can hold it much longer. The cylinder of the frozen sky slotted into a crossbow cycled between losing its brilliance and pulsing with flashes of blue light. Each time electricity surged through Raiju's body, it flickered brightly in response. Almost too brightly, as though the cage and the beast's resistance were pushing it beyond its capabilities. Seiyu knew that putting any more power into this would risk the danger of an explosion that would leave her far worse off than their target. Realizing this as well, Dao refused to stand around and do nothing. Dao had one other source of protection, a leather cloth from the cabin he covered in glass powder and resin paint on his body. Wrapping himself from the head down with this repurposed insulating cloak and protecting himself with gloves made from the same material, Dao bounded through the cage of fog and closed in on Raiju. Flashes of light scorched the road, but he pushed forward until he was directly before the object of their hunt. Dao, you crazy? Nothing crazy about standing in a cage made by you. Alright, Raiju, you're in for a real shock, because it's about to get unbearable for you. He then threw himself into the body of the beast, lashing out with his protected fists. Though the attacks he landed were of no real threat, the insulated strikes triggered waves of electricity that surged through it with each devastating punch. Haha, this works for me way better than any gun. Worth the dive, Dao cracked before taking stats and drawing in a long breath. Landing his feet before the flinching King of Thunder, Dao focused on every muscle in his body, and while filling his lungs with the clean mountain air, became one with the environment's natural flow of life energy. Only when this reached its peak did he spring forward. Shin! Dao kicked off the ground, air trembling around him, till Seiyu could swear she saw snowflakes dancing from his body as he sent an incredible punch into Raiju's chest. This alone was enough to send tremors through its whole form. His secret craft, Shin, could mean many things. Heart, core, quake, deity, and was among the ultimate techniques in a martial arts style created by the Woodland Wanderers. It requires synchronizing every part of the body, bone and muscle and all, and compressing one's strength until one forces dense power forward like a coil in a trap. Certainly, this kind of precise, powerful technique spoke to the wisdom gained through generations of journeying and surviving the wild. Can't believe it, Dao. You mastered Shin. Seiyu followed up Dao's attack by sending a shower of bolts from atop the rock wall down upon Raiju, preventing the staggering beast from steadying itself. Dao took the chance to send another blow to its throat. As it fell back, it no longer saw the cage's wall as a concern, pivoting to escape its hunters through fog and singed fur. I doubt that'll kill it, but it looks like we put it on the ropes, Seiyu cheered into the corridor to Dao. Are you alright? I'd love to tell you I am, but my gloves are done for, Dao responded, raising up his arms to display his gloves as he did so. I can't keep this up much longer. Okay, we just got to keep it busy, so I'll take over on the offensive. There was a hint of hesitation in her voice as she agreed to this. She was already pushing the cylinder of the frozen sky to its limits. Dao's craft was also one of great strength, and she doubted her crossbow would have nearly the same stopping power as it. Not seconds later into this train of thought did the sign they were waiting for make itself known. A deep bass sound echoed off the mountain, carrying far and strong despite its low pitch. It was proof the two of them had fulfilled their role in the tactic. That's the conch shell. Chunlan's ready, Seiyu exclaimed. Sure kept us waiting long enough, but now he's got me all fired up for round 2. Now come on, Seiyu, let's take him down for good. Right. As Seiyu descended, she released a section of the cage between Raiju and the summit. Doing this would help Seiyu to amplify the impact of her attacks as she concentrated much-needed moisture into each bolt fired. She then reunited with Dao, and with their backs against the still existing cage wall blocking the other path downward, she unleashed a final golden strike at the beast's back. Seiyu and Dao followed behind it as it ran, believing their companion ahead would be able to exact the next stage of their plan, driving Raiju back up toward the highest point of the summit. The king's throne would soon become its tombstone. And so, we move on to the third of our trio of books for this week. Why did they start coming out in threes? I'll never know. Chapter 11, to mark the hour. The story continues. He knew they would guide Raiju to him. Though it defied logic, Chunlan had such faith in his new companions that even as he waited and waited, the hand on his muzzle loader never trembled with anxiety. He remained calm even as the moment that would decide his fate approached, blew on his conch shell, and pictured their daring, triumphant smiles in his mind's eye. Signaling with such a loud sound gave his position away, and he was tantamount to suicide under any other circumstances, but he wanted it to drown out even the roars of the very beast they hunted. He wanted to be found. He was confident, he no longer feared, and it was all thanks to them. The conch shell summoned hope to him as he heard the calls of his companions following the booming footfalls of his sworn enemy. Seiyu and Dao were acting as decoys, laying a trap with the intent of driving the King of Thunder into Chunlan's range. At the top of the spiral path Dao had used to ascend, the Woodland Wanderers set the perfect trap. Modified bear trap, a shower of water and shards of metal. There was no better method to continue throwing Raiju's natural abilities into chaos, stopping it in its tracks. And if the beast were to leap from the summit's cliffs into the spiral path below to retreat it would be welcomed still by more traps and weapons set by Chunlan. It's finally time. Though I never thought it would happen like this, thought Chunlan. He was hit with a mixture of emotions brewing inside of him. So many that he could not concern himself with labeling them all, or most of them. Of these, one unexpected emotion manifested more clearly than the rest. I don't feel any hatred toward Raiju. Never once since the time he lost his father to the beast did he ever feel hatred for it. Not really. Not in the way he thought he did. He felt loss and grief upon losing the last of his living relatives, but in his heart of hearts, he saw his father as a true Matagi who fell after fighting for his life on equal terms with the mountain. His father had bet his flesh, his blood, struggling among his blessed nature, but his blade was simply unable to surpass the survival instincts of his opponent. How could Chunlan turn such a natural, beautiful thing into a grudge? How could he let the fear of his father's death consume him to a point that he forgot not all was truly lost? What motivated Chunlan in this moment was a desire to complete what had been started by someone he loved. That was all. This isn't vengeance for you, he thought of his father. I didn't fully understand everything you said back then, but I'm here, a life facing a life, and I will keep facing it with all that I am. To Chunlan, this mild understanding was enough to leave him content. His companions from a foreign land restored in him a sort of hope that his years past were not in vain, but rather guideposts that brought him to this very moment. To the moment when his days of simply breathing, eating, and sleeping from sunrise till sunset would end. To the moment where he realized he was still alive. Here they come. Chunlun heard an explosion of thunder from the rock he hid behind on the spiral path. Above him, at the highest point of the summit, Teo and Dao's voice shouted in response to the conch shell as they continued chasing down their hunt. Not a few heartbeats passed before Chunlan could sense Raiju's presence directly above him. He then put all his weight into giving a rope in his one hand a single sharp tug, leaning as he did so. One end of the cliff above him began to crumble. A single boulder that rested on the corner of the sheer peak had been yanked free of its position, and with what support wholly lost, the throne of the king trembled ominously before collapsing under the beast's weight. It was a good thing he had seen Seo's powers, as she buried the Oni in the snow. Seo and Dao had not blocked the mountain path just to give Chunlun time to set a few traps. More so, he could turn the entire area into one massive similar trap to what he witnessed before. To any observer, he may have been made pulling a rope to trigger the collapse of a cliff look simple. What he did, however, was delicately balance the boulder on a rod beforehand to leverage the rock in the direction he desired. It was almost a miracle he could get it ready in the short time Seo and Dao had to stall their target. Raiju finally chased to a dead end. Raiju slid down the summit among a shower of falling rock fragments and snow. It was only around 15 arcs up, not enough of a fall to kill it, but Chunlun had prepared its landing point with caltrops and other such traps to pin it down. Every fiber of his being cried for him to end it then. Yet regrettably, reality often makes a mockery of even the best laid plans. Raiju was thrown off his trajectory by the uneven face of the cliffside, well away from the trap set, landing instead right before Chunlun. So that's how it's gonna go, he muttered aloud. Fine, that won't stop me. It was almost better than his original plan even. Knowing he could end the beast's life personally rather than through a trap gave him a sense of fulfillment, as though something had guided them to this fitting end. Your false reign is over, Raiju, and the target never misses its target twice. A fire erupted from within him. With Mount Whitecrown watching once more, nothing stopped him, and the beast from continuing the fight that started 5 fateful years prior. Chunlun had his back pressed against some boulders that had fallen along the mountain path, while his opponent was backed by the sheep face of the summit. Let's finish this. Chunlun moved first. He had to press at advantage while his exhausted opponent was still slumped against the rocks. Drawing arrowheads and the other small blades and metal bits from a jute bag, he sprinted to scatter them around the beast before it could recover enough energy. It seemed the king also hoped to end this quickly. Even as Chunlun tossed the metal, it took the chance to impulsively unleash a fierce lightning attack. A fatal mistake on its part. Got you. Countless blades stuck in the ground and flying through the air absorbed the electrical strike and exploded, throwing up a curtain of smoke intermingled with sparks and flashes. Chunlun sprang through it all, drawing that much closer to Raiju. The beast convulsed as sparks scorched his fur and discharged energy continually shocked his body. Never been pushed this far before, have you? Taunted Chunlun. Oh, sorry, but I'm not done. Chunlun saw the surprise in Raiju's eyes, for even a beast as powerful as it would falter upon sight of a human covered in smoke, appearing and thrusting a rifle into its open mouth. Doesn't matter how thick your skin is from this distance. The rifle spat fire into the bear's mouth, and fresh blood, redder than even that of the flames from the shot, spurted from its mouth, staining Chunlun's pale skin and the bear's dark fur. Still, perhaps due to the natural desire to struggle on, it drew breath. Chunlun noticed his eyes still moved to focus on him, and even his arm being raised. No. Chunlun drew back his rifle to escape, but with his jaws now free, Raiju retaliated with wild, unbelievable speed, sinking its teeth into his shoulder. How long had it been since a beast had managed this? It was the first thought to flash through Chunlun's mind as intense waves of pain sank further into him. It was the only thing that could mildly stay the waves of pain that now persisted. With contact made and his senses keen from this terrible sensation, he could almost hear the bear's thoughts as if it growled audibly. You will not escape me. You're the one who won't escape me. Its jaw was soaked in blood as it continued to ignore the bullet burning inside its body. Chunlun made no attempt to tear himself away. On the contrary, shifting only as much as possible while locked in its jaws to get a better grip, he began plunging his Nagase into its neck again and again with his free hand, electricity crackling through the length of the blade. Both crashed to the ground, their thirst for the blood of the other swirling in the air. His teeth continued to bite and his blade continued to stab until neither could no longer. After a few moments of pure silence, it was Chunlun who rose, his coat and skin soaked in so much mud and red there could be more his or his hunt's. He swayed as he attempted to steady his feet. He could hardly see through the blood dripping from his forehead, and the shoulder that had been endlessly punctured drooped, barely unable to move. But he was alive, and the battle was not yet over. Chunlun took up his rifle again as the embers of life, though faint, continued in the eyes of the King of Thunder. It glared at the one who dealt its mortal blow, working despairingly to lift its limbs as its heart still beat, blood burbling through its mouth and wounds with every sharpened breath. So long as it lived, it would never stop trying to stand. With an eerie stillness about the moment, Chunlan slid around into his weapon, before placing it between the beast's eyes. A final gunshot then wailed through the mountain, carrying with it the end of a legacy's life. Maybe that's why it was in a trio then. Maybe that's why it was in a trio indeed. So, as we still continue through the Reverie Corridors Second Stratum next time, I hope you will join me then, now that our stories are read and up to date, with our crazy music going on. I'm annoyed that we didn't get the scan of that guy, but we've got some more stuff to see down there, at the very least. Is that another floor down there to go through too? Makes a question. So we continue on next time. And Trails into Reverie. More Reverie Corridor to come.
No.
See you guys around. Bye-bye. Next time.